We've all done it, right? We're flowing through our sales pitch, everything's going fine, and all of a sudden, our prospect has some objections. We're not quite sure what to do, we lose confidence, we start to feel awkward, and before we know it, the call is done and the deal is lost. So it's no surprise that one of the biggest game changers in sales is keeping your cool, keeping your confidence, and handling objections. And look, there's a million videos on YouTube about objection handling. So today, I'm just going to give you a simple framework on how to turn those objections into your advantage. My name's Luke. I've been in the sales game for over 20 years. This is video number 3 of a 5-part series. My goal is to empower you and give you confidence going into 2025 that you are going to crush your sales targets. You're going to sell everything you possibly can and end up with a ton of money in your pocket. This video is all about objection handling, but please do check out the links below. I have a ton of free sales stuff just for you. Let's get into the video. First up, it's the mental side of the objection handling game. So let's take a minute just to reframe what an objection is. You probably think that an objection is a hurdle, it's a roadblock, it's something that's stopping me get my deal over the line. That's not the case at all. Quite often, the client at a very high level is just looking for reassurance. When you understand this, then every objection stops becoming a blocker, but actually becomes a path to making the client feel better about the deal that you want to do. Okay, so very simply, let's break down an objection handling technique into 3 parts. Listen, validate, and respond with confidence. Listen, sit in silence and listen to what your client is saying. Do not interrupt. It's incredibly disrespectful to interrupt somebody at the best of times, but when somebody is, again, not feeling comfortable, needs reassurance, objecting to something that you proposed, just sit there and listen. And don't respond immediately. Take a couple of seconds to inwardly digest what exactly it is they've said. Whether you are confident enough to respond straight away is besides the point, even if you don't need a few seconds to think about it. Just take a beat. The client will interpret this as you listening and genuinely thinking and considering what they've said. Again, all these objections are a chance for us to build more trust. Secondly, validation. What do I mean by validation? I mean aligning with the customer. For example, yes, Mr. Customer, I totally understand what you're saying. In fact, a lot of my customers used to say the same thing. It can literally be as simple as that. Just the acknowledgement that you've heard them and you understand them, and also that what they're saying, it's no big deal. I've got this, Mr. Customer. Don't worry, hear this all the time. You're like everybody else. That's going to, again, more reassurance. It's just going to help reassure your prospect a lot more. Thirdly, respond. There is nothing worse than being unable to respond to an objection. Even if this is a worst case scenario and you literally have no idea what the answer is, maybe you work in tech and they've got an incredibly technical objection that's not suited for you and you don't have your technical peer on the call with you. That's something you can take away. That might be something to park, but whether you respond or not, at the end of your response, confirm with your client that they've understood what you've said and that do they understand? And is there anything else for them to add? And even then, if they're happy, are there any more objections? Keep digging for objections now so you don't get them later. Get everything out on the table so there are no surprises when you're really trying to close that deal. So for example, let's say you have a price objection. You can say, I totally understand, Mr. Prospect. However, for clients of a similar size of you, we typically see a 10x ROI in the first 18 months. How does that make you feel? And they're either going to be happy or they're not going to be sure, in which case you can dig a bit more. A typical response could be, I totally understand that you feel that way, Mr. Customer. And if it's a price objection, you could say something like, yeah, initially a lot of my customers, well, it was a little bit expensive, but once we ran the numbers, we could see that there was a very, very simple 2x return on investment within the first 18 months, which made a lot of sense to them. Does that make sense to you? And look, it's either going to make sense or it's not, in which case you go around again. Well, what doesn't make sense? And then you validate and you respond again and you keep going and keep going. We want to hear these objections now. Remember that. So look, if objections have been holding you back on your path to making more sales, I'd love to hear more in the comments. What kind of objections are you hearing? Because I guarantee it doesn't matter what the objections are. If you stick to that three-step formula I've just given you, listen, validate, and respond, welcome the objections. Go looking for the objections. I promise you, you'll end up building more trust with your customer and closing more deals. And that is exactly what we need going into 2025. Appreciate it if you've made it this far. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please do. And look out for part 4 coming down the line, where we're talking about daily sales routines to set you up for success every single day. I'll catch you in the next one.